So I was on a hitchhiking adventure from BC, Canada to Antigua, Guatemala, which started in September of 2019. And this story is taken from the notes in my journal, which I wrote as soon as I could after this insane experience. Now, if you've ever hitchhiked before, then you know just how amazing it is and how many cool people you can meet. Out of the thousands of rides across 40 countries, I've only had 2 bad and or dangerous encounters thumbing it. And this was my second one. So I was taking a break from traveling to find weed trim work in California's Nevada City, a beautiful little town with a very interesting crowd, but I got stuck a few towns over for not getting a ride all day. I ended up sleeping a night at the Love's gas station, which I had done plenty of times before. I've slept in worse places, and at least Love's has a bathroom. In the morning, I was just a little more desperate to accept rides because nobody was stopping, and it had already been a whole day at this point, and I just wanted to get out of here if I'm being honest. The pickup truck is speeding past me and slams the brakes ahead, then slowly backs up at one point. Inside is a man and a woman in their late 50s, and he says in a husky voice, "Where you headed, boy?" Nevada City, but any distance helps." "Well, get on in. We're going to Yuba." They seem normal enough, even without most of their teeth and hair, so I jumped in, and it all happened in rapid succession. 1, I tossed my bag in the back and jumped in. 2, I shut the door. 3, I notice a pile of guns and bullets on the floor. And 4, before I have time to rethink my decision, we speed off. So, as I'm trying to assess whether or not I'm in danger, they start telling me how this guy just got out of jail for aggravated assault, how he beat that guy so bad that he can't think straight no more, and they just both laugh. She's holding his seatbelt over his chest. They both smell terrible, and they start asking how much money I have, and I think, yep, I'm definitely not safe here. After hitchhiking all this way, I don't look particularly wealthy. I'm filthy, I need a shower, I look no different than the stereotypical homeless guy if I'm being honest. So I try to seem more poor than I am and more tough than I am too. So I tell them, yeah, I'm pretty broke, man. That's why I'm going to the city. I'm hoping to make some cash trimming. The man looks me in the eye. "Well, you'll find it all right. You'll find it good. Don't be afraid to do no dirty work. If people try, and they'll try, to mess with you, you mess with them first. You get what I'm saying? Put your eyes on the damn road." The woman points forward, and he swerves back to the right lane. He asks me if I smoke, and knowing that California has legalized weed, I put 2 and 2 together. He's offering me a joint. So I say, yeah, I smoke." With a wild look in his eyes, he exclaims, "Great," and we turn off the highway and start down a dirt road. I'm more than worried, and I look behind us. In the back of the truck is my bag, a chainsaw, a pickaxe, and a plastic tarp over something. And that didn't help my anxiety, that's for sure. Finally, though, we stop on the front of a clearing. The woman takes out, not a joint, but a meth pipe. It's the first time that I've seen a meth pipe too, and a lot of things start to make sense. While he lights up and exhales into the car, I've never seen smoke so white. I roll the window down as fast as possible because I really don't want to smoke that. The woman takes some as well, and they tell me how they're going to collect money that a woman owes them or something. That woman's going to pay today, one way or another. Damn straight. She better have that money. I'm going to grab her and say, "Where's my money?" Oh, she'll have it all right. She'll have it or else. "Say, son, you ever steal something? Because we could make $20,000 today." I don't know exactly how to answer this guy, and he repeats $20,000 today. And then he says, "Here, smoke some of this," and hands me the pipe. Nothing like meth, ain't that right? I gently reject it and say that meth's not really my thing, which he surprisingly takes well and smokes some more, before putting it away and driving off back towards the highway. His driving is terrible now too, swerving, speeding, hitting brakes abruptly, and starts trying to convince me to help them steal marijuana plants. Yeah, you'll hold my gun and I'll drill the hole, and I'll keep a lookout. Yeah, she'll keep a lookout. Now, you got to be careful if you hear the dogs though, because those guys are nasty. Nasty. See this bite? And he reveals what looks like a terrible scar on his arm. I didn't really know how to get out of this situation at this point, so I sounded as confident as possible and said that I was meeting a friend to look for work together and they'd be expecting me today. We neared the end of Yuba City where they pull over to the side. Well, it's your funeral. You sure you don't want to eat? Fine by me, but if you ever want that cash, just give us a call. Hands me his number. Heck no, I think. But I say, thanks, yeah, I will, while quickly retrieving my bag and smiling nervously. The woman says with a wave, take care now, God bless, and then they speed off. At this point, I'm standing on the side of the road just thinking, what the heck was that? And I am very happy to be out of that car. I really don't know what was under that tarp, and who knows, maybe I don't want to know, but I think that they were very serious about robbing whoever it was that they were saying that they were going to rob. Like I said earlier though, it's one of only 2 times that I've honestly felt like my life was in danger. This happened a couple of years ago now. I was walking my boyfriend to the train station late at night as he had spent the weekend with me and he lived in another city. We had just been to the cinema, which was near the train station, so I didn't come out just to walk him to the train. The station was in my direction to get home anyway. The film ended around just after midnight. We said our goodbyes, and when the train pulled out, I waved before turning and then heading home. The safest way to get home was through a mall. The mall was actually abandoned at this time, but they leave the lights on and you can walk through it with the shops boarded up. The end of the mall has a revolving door, which I normally go through and then walk the 10 or so minutes home. I usually run if it's late or dark outside because I watch way too many scary documentaries and I'm a bit paranoid. But I get to the end of the mall and there's a group of guys just sat around the escalator, about 5 or 6 of them. They look over and start shouting things, but I have no idea what language they're speaking, so I don't know what they're saying about me or to me. I ignore them and head to the revolving door. 2 of the guys get up and follow me though. By this point, I'm getting pretty nervous because it's late, empty, and it's just me and some guys being obnoxious. I quickly go through the revolving door and it just stops with a hard thud. I turn around and the 2 guys are now holding it shut. Then the other guys get up and start laughing and saying things to me. Another one started holding the door and I kept trying to push it to get out. I stood there frozen for what felt like hours. In reality, it probably went on for like 20 minutes before they started to yank it so that I had to go back into the mall. My mind was pretty much racing at this point at what I'll do next. I thought that I could scream or run through the mall or the other way if I was pulled back in. But they were taunting me at this point and pulling and pushing the door. I started banging on the glass, trying to get the attention of anyone that might be out at that time of night. And that's when they pushed it one last time. And I flew out the door without even thinking, and I ran as fast as I could up the road without looking back. When I got far enough and I couldn't hear anyone behind me, I looked back and none of them followed me. It seemed like they were doing it to scare me for fun more than anything, but I can't be sure. I then ran all the way home crying and slammed the main door of my apartment building behind me, automatic lock, then walked up the stairs to my door and just got into bed in my clothes. I felt so ashamed and scared by the situation that I just couldn't find the courage to tell my boyfriend or anyone about it, but it's one of those memories that's stuck with me. And these days, I avoid the mall at night, and I also try to avoid walking home in the dark, if I can help it. This happened when I was 4 years old. My memory of the events are quite vivid, as this was the closest that I've ever been to possibly dying. So, I was at the grocery store with my mum. While she was buying groceries too, she left me outside to play on one of those pretend cars that you put a quarter in so it moves back and forward. We lived in a small town, so there was a feeling of trust in the community, and my mum felt safe leaving me out there by myself. The 4-year-old me was having the time of my life on that car. I didn't even notice that a man was standing nearby, a skinny and rather short man. He was sporting a trench coat that nearly touched his feet, and he looked like he was in his mid-30s and was already starting to bolt. Once the car ride stopped, the man walked up to me. I remember him kneeling down to me, letting out a wide grin and asking, "Hey, would you like another quarter, little lady?" "Sure," I said. He smiled and placed the quarter in my hand. He held onto my hand for quite a while. I put the quarter back in the machine and went for another ride. He was watching me the entire time as well. Mum was taking a little longer than expected. The car ride was over again, so the man picked me up from the ride and stood me in front of him. "You know," he said, "I have a car myself. Do you want to come for a ride with me?" I remember being a little confused by the question. It's like I was starting to notice something was just a little off. "Don't worry," he assured me. "This ride is free of charge." He grinned again. He held out his hand and I stupidly accepted it. We started walking towards his car, and it was this small dented thing that hadn't been cleaned in years, obviously. We opened his car door, and it was accompanied by a high-pitched yell from behind me. My mum, along with a large security guard, was sprinting towards me. The man, panicked, jumped in his car and drove off immediately. I was left in the parking space by myself. My mum grabbed and hugged me, and I could feel her tears running down my shoulder. I heard the security guard on his walkie-talkie requesting assistance, and unfortunately, they never found the man. Thinking back to that day 20 years ago really puts things into perspective. I was possibly 10 seconds away from being taken forever, never to see my mum again. And the fact that this man is still roaming the streets absolutely terrifies me. And I sure hope that nobody else has gotten hurt because of him. This happened to me a few weeks ago. So I was attending an interview for an admin position at a small business. I was in the waiting area, sitting next to the other candidates, another girl my age. Now, when I say small business too, I mean that there's only the manager in the building, with us two. The manager peeked out of his office door and asked me to come in. He was an older man who had blotchy red skin and was starting to bald. I took a seat next to his desk and we began the interview. He asked the usual, "Tell me about yourself and why would you be a good fit for this position," etc. I was confident that the interview was going well so far, but then it just got really weird. He then asked me if I planned on working here until I die. I was taken aback by that. At the time, I thought that this was perhaps a trick question. I jokingly replied that I'll live forever. However, the manager wasn't humoured at all by this. He just gave me a horrible scowl, and I was feeling very uncomfortable, and at this point, I wanted to leave. His next question, though, was also creepy, and he asked if I had a boyfriend. I replied with no. Again, he gave me an ugly scowl. I was already planning my escape because something was definitely wrong with this guy. He then started scurrying through his desk and pulled out a really large lollipop, the kind with the spirals on them. And he said, "Oh, sorry, you seem a little tense. Here, take this." And he was licking his lips. My legs were trembling, and I said, "Okay, sorry, sir, but I have to leave." And I rushed out of the office. I saw the other girl, and I told her to leave with me right now. We left the building and caught the nearest taxi out of there while I explained everything to her. And after this, the thought of going to another interview fills me with just so much dread.